how to know if you are on a shamanic journey. When we think about shamanism, perhaps we could think about the old ones, the wise ones. But perhaps we could also think about those who have completely identified themselves with the role. And what I mean with that is like people who have dressed themselves up with the clothes from Asian tribes or even the jewelry that goes along with it. And as a human being, in some way, it's good to have an identity. But it's not really so much about, let's say, the spiritual identity or the spiritual ego that defines you as a shaman. So let's talk about it. How do you know if you are on this journey yourself? It's not really something that, you know, when you come out of high school and you say, all right, I'm going to be a shaman for the rest of my life because I think that will be a good career path. That's not really like most likely to happen. It probably starts off in life with a life of sacrifices, a life of suffering, a life of going through immense amount of pain, perhaps. Maybe you have experienced what it's like to grow up in an abusive family or in a family that went through divorce, separation. Or perhaps you have experienced things like emotional neglect, abuse, physical abuse, and so on. The list can go on and on and on. Because what's happening is you get separated from your true authentic self. You have created, let's say, a way to survive, a way to cope with everything. And this separation causes so much pain within yourself, the separation from your true authentic self, that later on in your life, your journey, your path becomes to create, let's say, unity within your inner self, your true authentic self. That's one way, that's one thing. The second thing is like when you go through the separation, let's say the core, the center of the storm, the eye of the storm is where the peace is at. And you are basically, you know, somewhere down the line in the midst of the storm, in the hurricane, where everything is chaos. And during the chaos, perhaps you experience a profound insight that suddenly gives you a greater awareness, an insight, an inspiration of what lies ahead for you, a vision, what lies ahead for you, that suddenly it penetrates you through that wall you have created to cope with certain ways of surviving in life. You break through that wall and this sudden enlightened vision you have created, something has penetrated through your soul, it has reached the center, and suddenly your entire perception of yourself, your self-identity, your self-image, your perception of the world has completely changed. It's like you can't go back anymore. Something has changed. And that process will probably repeat quite a few times during your life. That you have created, let's say, a false self, and all you have to do is to create alignments in your true authentic self. And that can keep on going for on and on and on. That's the continuous process. But that's only where it just begins. This is just a process of cleansing and purify your glass of water until it can start to flow over to the rest of the world. And that's where you can be truly of service to others. So that's one thing. Another thing is that during your life, perhaps you have been on travels. Travels without actually knowing you have been to sacred sites around the earth, around the planets. And also these sacred sites perhaps also gave you a profound insight, a sudden awakening, a realization, like something has penetrated your soul, your spirit. It's like an upgrade in your consciousness. That's another part. Another part is, of course, you feel this deeper connection with nature. Perhaps that can come later on, it becomes stronger. Maybe it always was like a common thing for you to go out in nature, to go out in outdoors, because it makes you feel good. But later on, perhaps you create this longing, this yearning, even more, even stronger. And actually you start to realize that your role here is to assist Gaia with healing themselves of what humanity has been doing to nature, to the earth, to the Gaia, which is the spiritual embodiment of the earth, of course. And you feel that you have came here is to provide support, guidance, not just for humanity, but also really for nature, for the earth. And you feel like your work might evolve around working with the sacred sites around the earth, because during these penetrations within your spirit, within your soul, and perhaps you had to cope with, let's say, a lot of mental, emotional, spiritual challenges, is that you grow up maybe in a household where it was not safe at all. Perhaps you have created, let's say, a split within your consciousness, like you do not really want to be in this reality where there is pain, sacrifices, suffering all the time. And that's why you have created, let's say, a way within your mind to develop a higher level of imagination, of a way to escape from that. Like, yes, you are there physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you are somewhere else. And this is really what continues to happen, is that you are physical here in this reality, but mentally, emotional, spiritual, you are not. Unless you become the whole version of yourself and you create this alignment bridge between the spiritual realm, the higher states of consciousness, the spirits of nature, the different gods, the different archangels, the star families, the ancient wise ones, and the list goes on and on for those who have ascended and who are still here to guide us, humanity and the planet, to move to the next level. And you are here like a bridge, and your whole journey is to create alignment between this bridge of the spiritual realm and the physical realm. But you always feel like you are never really with two legs here in this earth, which has made you perhaps the person who can come across a little spacious or not very grounded. It's like you're always a little bit in a trance state. Perhaps you have tried to do well in the civilization we call humanity, with normal jobs and everything like that, but when you try to, you feel deeply inside like you do not belong there, like you do not really belong in that kind of world, in that kind of society. And that's when you became very ungrounded, and when your mind constantly wanders off to another realm. You're there physically, but you're not really there. Perhaps people gave you the identity or the image or the label of ADD, ADHD, or the sensation seeker, the highly sensitive person, whatever the label is. But that could also really be a way of showing like there is a greater path ahead for you. Is not trying to fit in, but here to be the bridge of what the Spirit wants to teach us, wants to show us, and what humanity really needs for moving on, to evolving, and what nature, Mother Nature, really needs. Another thing is that you create a deeper interest in, let's say, mythology, or of what ancient civilizations used to be. Perhaps you create an interest in the civilization of Atlantis, the Egyptian, or perhaps other traditional, maybe it's paganism, Nordic paganism, the Nordic shamans, for example. And of course the list can go on and on and on of what kind of shamans or kind of shamanism it is that really got your attention, and from which kind of tribe or civilization that actually got in some way pulled back by modern religious forms, that of course created separations between different kind of spiritual practices. Like take paganism, which was before Christianity here on this land of Britain, and of course that got a bit like suppressed, fought against mother religion of Christianity, and you feel like you want to connect more to that, because within these traditions it was like these tribes were very connected to the land, to nature, and the spirits that holds everything together. Another thing is that perhaps you have a longing, a desire to actually move up north to colder climates, because the days are shorter, there's more darkness, the temperatures are cooler, and what it means is that during the winter represents time for self-reflection, time to go within. Because think about it, if you go outside, it's cold, and after spending hours in the cold, what do? We go inside. We want to be inside because it's warm, it's cozy, it's where we can really relax and go deeper within. So that's another sign that perhaps you are on a shamanic journey as well. Another thing is that you start to struggle with whatever thing humanity has projected us all, how we should be and what we should think and what we should have, and based on these things from society, what we know today, the forms of capitalism and all of that sort of things, many of that really starts to lose your interest. Perhaps you have been trying so hard to go along with it. It's just like at a deeper soul level you do not really believe in that. That's why in some way you struggle to go and get after the things that society tells us that is what we should be doing and what we should be having and how we should be. You feel like you are yearning as well for more solitude. You feel the isolation if you are in a culture of people that live in isolation and separation, people who go for their individualistic goals and service level desires. You learn for probably a life with solitude in the woods, in nature, landscapes, seascapes, mountains, because that's really where you find your voice, that's where you find your inspiration, your creativity and your connection with the spiritual world, away from the noise and distractions from modern society. That's where you can create wholeness within yourself. As a wise one, perhaps you are on a life path number 9 as well. During the summer when I was in the Netherlands, I made another video about that, which explains the whole purpose of when you are living on a life path number 1. And one of these things is that probably we are rising to the top level of the pyramid scheme from Maslow, which is all about self-acquisition and self-care and spiritual development. That also means is that within the souls of a wise one, think about the Asian tribes, the wise ones or the shamans, the healers, the spiritual teachers, they were at the center of the camp, and all the material resources were basically be provided by others of the tribe in return for support, guidance, healing, insights, inspiration, and that sort of things. So as a shaman, it's not really so much anymore about marketing and selling what you think you know and what you have. It's more about being, and what you need will be supported by you, by others who want to benefit from what you have to offer. And this is also really about the process of trust the process and allow things to come into your existence, and trust that as long as you are in service of the universe, of the cosmos, you are the drop of water that reconnects with this ocean. The ocean of infinite possibilities will serve you in endless ways. So here just a few thoughts. Well, I'm here in the Highlands of Scotland. Absolutely incredible area, and I definitely need to come back here. and I will definitely need it. One of my goals to actually perhaps thinking about relocating here. But let's keep it in the middle, as I also have a lot of things to figure out myself, and as I'm on this journey on myself as well. And yeah, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification, where I share more insights about spiritual developments, self-acquisition, mindfulness in nature, the woods. So if that really has your interest, then you know what to do. And please let me know if any of this actually resonated with you. If you saw any insights, please let me know. Simply drop a comment below, and also feel free to share this video. Alright, take care for now. Bye bye.